Hey guys, it's Caleb, and these are my notes from Wednesday Night Youth Group. So, we're going to be opening up into Ruth, and every week we're going through a new chapter. This week we're on chapter number 2. So, we're going to open up into Ruth 2 and start with reading 2 and 3. And Ruth the Moabite said to Naomi, "Let me go to the fields and pick up the leftover grain behind anyone in whose eyes I find favor." Naomi said to her, "Go ahead, my daughter." So she went out, entered a field, and began to glean behind the harvesters. As it turned out, she was working in a field belonging to Boaz, who was from the clan of Elimelech. So, you may think, like they're stealing, but this actually is gleaning. So, it's an Old Testament law where farmers only farm 90% of their crop and the rest they leave for poor people. We read this in Leviticus 19:9 and 10, which talks about, "When you reap the harvest of your land, do not reap to the very edges of your field or gather the gleanings of your harvest. Do not go over your vineyard a second time or pick up the grapes that have fallen. Leave them for the poor and the foreigner. I am the Lord your God." So, this is the law, and this is just like a little side note about it. So we see that she ends up in Boaz's field, right? When we read verse 1 now Naomi had a relative on her husband's side, a man of standing from the clan of Elimelech, whose name was Boaz. So she's in his field, right? He's rich and influential in the community. And the first thing that he says is loving in God's eyes. So he's kind and loving and has a relationship with God and all of his employees. He has a relationship just with everyone, and he sees that there's someone new in the field. As we read 5 through 9, Boaz asked the overseer of his harvest, "Who does that young woman belong to?" The overseer replied, "She is the Moabite who came back from Moab with Naomi." She said, "Please let me glean and gather among the sheaves behind the harvesters." She came into the field and has remained here from morning till now, except for a short rest in the shelter. So Boaz said to Ruth, "My daughter, listen to me. Don't go and glean in another field, and don't go away from here. Stay here with the women who work for me. Watch the field where the men are harvesting and follow along after the women. I have told the men not to lay a hand on you, and whenever you go thirsty, go and drink from the water jars the men have filled." So here we see his generosity. Not everyone followed God's laws, but he's going above and beyond and gave her safety, which is the most important thing. This is super generous and becomes even more generous later. So now we're going to jump down to 14, where we're going to read 14 through 17. At mealtime, Boaz said to her, "Come over here, have some bread, and dip it in the wine vinegar." When she sat down with the harvesters, he offered her some roasted grain. She ate all she wanted and had some left over. As she got up to glean, Boaz gave orders to his men, "Let her gather among the sheaves and don't reprimand her. Even pull out some stalks for her from the bundles and leave them for her to pick up, and don't rebuke her." So Ruth gleaned in the field until evening. Then she threshed the barley she had gathered, and it amounted to about an ephah. She carried it back. Let's go a little far. But we see Boaz and Ruth develop as characters, and he's so kind. We jumped out of 19 here, where it said, her mother-in-law asked her, "Where did you glean today? Where did you work? Blessed be the man who took notice of you." Then Ruth told her mother-in-law about the one at whose place she's been working. "The name of the man I worked with today is Boaz," she said. "The Lord bless him," Naomi said to her daughter-in-law. "He has not stopped showing his kindness to the living and the dead." She added, That man is our close relative. He is one of our guardian redeemers." Then Ruth the Moabite said, "He even said to me, 'Stay with my workers until they finished harvesting all my grain.'" So people probably thought that he liked her, had some type of alternative motives because of how kind that he was. As Christians, we see this concept in our everyday lives. Another thing that we talk about is giving 1/10 of your earnings to the church. This is tithing. We think that we deserve everything handed to us and we shouldn't share. Our entire paycheck, we deserve it. In Psalms 24:1, we read, "The earth is the Lord's and everything in it, the world and all who live in it." So God owns everything on earth. He just gives us different amounts to manage. When we think about being generous, that's, that we are just the managers. That's how we should think about it. It makes us think differently about generosity. Generosity also isn't just about your money. It can be about giving up your time to help someone or your expertise in helping someone. So let's take this mental challenge this week in the form of a reflection. What does it look like to be generous, and how can we be more generous in our everyday lives? Those are my notes for this week. Obviously, I am not the pastor. It's just a watered down version of the great message that he was giving us. And, I'm not nearly as cool as him, but I hope that you guys had some type of takeaway from today. I hope that the little speech stutters weren't too bad. And as always, don't forget to pray today.